Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a beautiful day in Sedona and I am going to talk today about self-acceptance. Because most of us really don't accept who we are. I was reading Louise Hay's book, Heal Your Life, and she said, I have to tell you this because I think it's true and it's been my experience as well. She said, the innermost belief everyone I have worked with is always, I'm not good enough. And I think most of us think we're not good enough, which is actually a real shame because I believe we really are good enough. But what are the things we do that tell us we're not good enough, and why do we feel that way? For a lot of us, we got a lot of messages in childhood that reinforce the belief that we're somehow not good enough. I'd like you to think back to childhood right now and see if you can come up with when you first began feeling that maybe you weren't quite good enough. So I have found working with many people that for so many of my clients who are absolutely wonderful, loving people, they are convinced there's something wrong with them. They don't know what it is, but they're sure that there is something wrong with them. Or they tell themselves things like, well, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not clever enough, which is pretty much the same as I'm not smart enough, or I'm too old, or I'm too fat. All these negative messages that actually are not true. I want you to think about some of the messages that you give yourself, because life is so much easier when we start accepting who we are. When we start accepting ourselves with all our flaws, all our imperfections, and believe me, we all have them, and we say, you know what, I'm good enough. I'm good enough. Because that really is the truth. You are good enough. But it's important to start really practicing believing that. So the next time you make a mistake, instead of beating up on yourself, I'd like you to say, hey, I made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. It's okay. I'm going to talk in my next video about the inner critic and the ways that we put ourselves down and we listen to this negative little voice in our head that tells us pretty unpleasant things about ourselves. But for today, what I want you to really think about is, where did I get this idea that I'm not good enough? And could that idea be wrong? I'm telling you, it is wrong. You are good enough. Thank you so much for being with me today.